So your first professional environment was Western New York Flash, which then became North Carolina Courage. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so your coach, you said you had Aaron Lyons, and then you pretty much had Paul Riley for the duration of that experience.
Like 6 or 7 years.
And during your time, like we read it, you were so successful both individually and as a team in North Carolina. Obviously, everybody kind of knows what has transpired with the abuse in the league, particularly with Paul Riley. How did you balance this understanding of, when all the allegations come out with a coach that obviously had helped you a lot from an individual basis? Like, that's when you then got your first call up on the national team. And also, like, how did you balance being so successful and then in such a toxic environment?
Like, you guys can both attest to it, but like when you're in a situation and you're like kind of getting like a little gaslighted and you're not really realizing like the like what's happening. I feel like it's hard to notice, like the bad behavior and like what's happening.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're just like getting gaslighted and you're like, this is the normal for me.
So this is exactly my experience at Chicago. Obviously different experiences, but we were both you and I think share a commonality of like having a lot of success under a coach that was abusive.
Yeah.
And in Chicago, I had definitely had my most like prolific scoring, best years of club. I was also there the longest amount of time. And it was an abusive and toxic environment the entire time. And I didn't even know it, actually.
Yeah.
Tobin yanked me out of that environment, essentially. She was like, enough's enough. This is going over the line. You can't stay. And I had this whole like complex of like, I can't leave the girls. I can't leave the girls. I tried to fix everything from the inside. I thought I was like the one who could stand up. I was like trying to make it better. And Tobin was like, you are not well. You need to leave.
Yeah.
And that like exactly what you said, like I was in it and I was like, but I'm scoring all these goals.
Yeah.
And I'm here and I'm helping all the girls. Like I'm their voice, like I'm their protector. And it was like, I couldn't even see until I was out of that environment,
totally,
how bad it was.
Totally. And I feel like success, like personal and team success kind of like hides, the bad behavior and the, toxicity of all that's going on. And
yes, and when we're kind of living on a knife's edge, in my opinion. So it's like, it's all tied to this idea that the national team has kind of a monopoly on the dream because of the financial structure.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, scoring goals in club meant I get to go into camp, which means I actually have a job that I can support myself with.
Yeah.
And if whatever happens, if Rory were to do something or change, or if I wasn't able to be successful, I no longer have a job that sustains my lifestyle, right?
Totally.
So we're like living in this world where like anything that goes awry, it feels like it's going to take our whole dream away.
Yeah.
And like what happened with me was that I asked for a trade. Rory then traded me in my sleep to a team he knew I wasn't going to go to. I flew to Houston, where I was traded, was told by the girls, that coach is also not creating a healthy environment.
Yeah.
Didn't show up. And then I didn't get called into camp for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's like you say, why is like no one standing up? Well, that's why, because like that's my livelihood.
Yeah.
And it was all like we live in this level of intensity that when crazy things are happening, sometimes we can't even feel it because like we're used to crazy.
No.
Yeah.
No, I know. I too was like walking on a tightrope, being like, I cannot fall off of this, and I need to, do the right things and perform how, he wants me to and play how he wants me to, because I'm getting called into the national team. It's our livelihood. Financially, we are making a good living, being on the national team, being successful. It was hard. And, I just am thankful again that I was able to experience and go through this with some of my teammates and like close friends, because I feel like without them, like, I don't know, I probably like wouldn't have been okay, or like, I don't know what would have happened, but I just like look back at that time and I'm just thankful. And it's just crazy to me too. And it kind of feels like hard because sometimes, you know, I've had success under, you know, a coach that like has just been so abusive and has done so many horrible things that it's hard not to look back and be like, shoot, it is just like feels a little like grimy to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
It's like a guilt.
it's a total guilt. And, you know, I'm obviously, it doesn't, you know, take away from the success I had or like our team had, but it does like feel a little like heavy to me when I think about like those times.
Yeah.
Just wishing it could have been for like just a better human.
Yeah. And I think that like one positive is the financial disparity that we're talking about is progressing where people are making more money in the league. And I like will say it 100 times on the show because it's so important. Like financial liberation of women is the social liberation of women, because when we have access to resources and money, like we can protect ourselves. And so the fact that there is more money going into club salaries is extremely important.